The prison cartels, when guards lose control. The first shots rang out long before sunrise. In the women's prison outside Tamara, Honduras, the air was heavy and still when the sound of automatic gunfire echoed through the concrete blocks. Screams followed. Flames shot out from one of the dormitories as a group of masked inmates, all from the feared Barrio 18 gang, kicked open metal doors. They weren't running from guards. They were running toward their rivals. By the time the sun came up, dozens lay dead, and the guards were nowhere to be seen. People watching from outside could only see black smoke curling above the prison walls and hear the chaos inside. It was the kind of nightmare that parents whisper about, but hope their children never see. How had a place built for control turned into a battlefield ruled by the inmates themselves? And why did the guards do nothing to stop it? Months earlier, the prison had seemed tense but quiet. Life behind those high walls was strange, like a city hidden inside a fortress. Gangs had their own rooms, their own guards, even their own rules. In one corner of the yard, women in red shirts cooked tortillas over open fires. In another, tattooed enforcers from Barrio 18 met under a corrugated roof, speaking in low voices. Rumors spread about weapons hidden in laundry baskets, phones smuggled in by visitors, and guards who looked the other way for a bribe. Everyone knew the gangs were strong, but few realized how completely they had taken over. Inside, a new arrival named Marisol noticed these things right away. She had come in on a theft charge, scared and alone. The first thing she saw after intake wasn't a guard, but a gang leader telling her which bunk she would use. "Stay quiet," another inmate whispered. "They decide who sleeps where, not the prison." Marisol kept her head down, but her heart raced when she realized the guard, TS, were standing off to the side, watching but saying nothing. Weeks passed and the gang's power became clearer. They collected taxes from other prisoners, cigarettes, soap, or phone minutes in exchange for safety. If someone didn't pay, she might wake up to find her mattress gone or her food ration cut off. Marisol watched as a guard unlocked a gate so a gang member could pass through with a large bag, not even checking what was inside. She thought about her little son back home in the US and wondered how she had ended up in a place where the people with uniforms seemed weaker than the people with tattoos. But tension was rising. Another group of inmates, aligned with a rival gang, had started refusing the taxes. In whispers and glances, plans formed. Weapons, handmade knives, sticks, even a small pistol, moved from cell to cell, hidden under clothes. At night, the lights flickered, and the air was thick with rumors. On a humid June morning, Marisol woke to a noise like thunder. The rival gang's dorm had been set on fire. She saw shadows rushing through smoke, the smell of gasoline burning her nose. Someone screamed, "Barrio 18!" as shots cracked from the hallway. Prisoners ran in every direction. Marisol crouched under her bunk, shaking. She could hear guards shouting somewhere far off, but not coming closer. Outside the walls, families gathered at the gates, calling loved ones' names. They could hear gunfire, then explosions as propane tanks ignited. Inside, the gang advanced dorm by dorm, dragging rivals out, beating them, setting mattresses on fire. The guards had vanished from the main block, leaving only locked gates between the attackers and their victims. As the smoke grew thicker and the screams louder, Marisol clutched a small cross in her hand. She had thought the prison was the worst thing that could happen to her. Now she realized it could get much worse. In that moment, with the flames reflecting off the concrete walls and the gang leader's footsteps drawing nearer, she wondered, would anyone come to stop them, or was the prison truly theirs now? Black smoke rolled across the cell block like a storm cloud. Marisol's throat burned as she crawled toward the far corner, trying to stay below the choking fumes. The women around her coughed and screamed. Some were pressed flat against the walls. Others tried to climb over bunks to escape the flames. The crack of gunfire echoed down the hallway, sharp, irregular bursts, then the low thud of something heavy falling. Someone shouted a name, then silence. Through the smoke, she saw figures moving. The Barrio 18 women were no longer hiding. They were marching. Bandanas covered their faces, and each one held a weapon. Machetes, bats, sharpened metal rods. They passed by cells without a glance, heading straight for the dorm that had refused to pay their tax. One of them dragged a fire extinguisher like a trophy. Another had a cell phone pressed to her ear, giving orders in a low, calm voice. Marisol's mind spun. How could they be so organized? Where were the guards? She peered through the bars and saw two officers at the end of the corridor, standing with their backs to the wall. One had his hands up. The other looked at the floor. Neither moved to stop the gang as they kicked open the rival dorm. Screams erupted from inside. The attackers poured gasoline over the bunks and lit it. Flames leapt up, casting wild shadows on the ceiling. Marisol covered her ears as the sound of an explosion shook the block. Shards of glass rained down from a broken window. She thought about her son again, his face when she left for court, and prayed she would see him again. Outside, sirens wailed. Families pressed closer to the gates, shouting for someone to help. Some held signs with loved ones' names. Others waved white cloths in desperation. Soldiers were gathering beyond the outer wall, but no one came in. Not yet. Inside, time twisted. Minutes felt like hours. A woman in the next cell sobbed quietly. "They're not going to stop," she whispered. "They run this place now." Marisol's heart pounded. She knew she couldn't stay under the bunk much longer. The smoke was getting thicker. She scanned the room and saw a small service door near the laundry area. It was usually locked, but in the chaos, someone might have left it open. She began to crawl toward it, inch by inch, as the gang's shouts drew nearer. Suddenly, the door at the far end of the corridor burst open. Bright light flooded in, and silhouettes of soldiers appeared, rifles raised. A deep voice barked orders in Spanish. The Barrio 18 women turned their heads, some backing away, others raising weapons. For a heartbeat, everyone froze, inmates, attackers, and soldiers, as if the prison itself were holding its breath. Then a single gunshot cracked, louder than all the rest. No one could tell who fired first. The soldiers surged forward. The gang members scattered, some vanishing into side rooms, others charging toward the soldiers with makeshift weapons. The cell block erupted into chaos again, but this time it was different. Louder, harder, more final. Marisol dropped flat as bullets tore into the walls. She covered her head and felt the floor tremble under her palms. Somewhere nearby, a grenade or tear gas canister hissed. Smoke mixed with gas, stinging her eyes until she could barely see. She didn't know if she was safer now or in even greater danger. As she lay there, the noise swelled. Gunfire, screams, boots pounding concrete. She tried to crawl backward but bumped into another prisoner who clutched her arm. "Don't move," the woman hissed. "They're shooting at everything." Marisol's mind went blank. The world shrank to the sound of her own heartbeat and the feel of cold concrete against her cheek. In that instant, she realized the battle or the prison had truly begun, and nobody, not the guards, not the government, not even the gangs, knew how it would end. And then, through the haze, she saw something that made her blood run cold. One of the gang leaders had grabbed a guard's rifle and was climbing the stairs to the control room where the master locks for every door were kept. If she reached it, she could open every gate in the block. Marisol could only watch, frozen, as the woman's silhouette disappeared into the shadows above, taking the key to the entire prison with her.